Hello and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through weekly tips and tricks to make your career just a little bit more awesome. Last week we talked all about spaciousness, carving out time in your calendar to unwind, relax, and disconnect yourself from the work entirely and how important that can be. This week we are talking about how you can manage your time when you're actually doing the work. So not when you're taking the break for spaciousness, but when you're actually digging in, trying to get stuff done and juggle your many priorities. Because whether you are an entrepreneur or someone in corporate, you're still probably a lady boss who has a lot of important things going on, trying to manage them all. This is something that has come up a lot in the last week, so I realized it was time to share a little more knowledge on this, because the truth is I had an entrepreneur friend reach out to me and say, how do you juggle all the things? I have my paper planner, I have Asana, I have all of these things. How do you prioritize? I had women in Career Clarity Camp reaching out, asking how to help push back on their managers, how to help juggle their priorities when they have a lot on their plate. And I even had a client of mine reach out and say, I know we need to reschedule this call, but I was hoping I would do it when I was all caught up, and I'm realizing I'm still not caught up. And this led to a larger conversation about the fact that I want to lovingly remind you that you're probably never going to be caught up, and that's okay. Right? Catching up is not necessarily about something that there's ever going to be a perfect day where you're like, wow, I'm really caught up on all the stuff I want to be caught up on, right? That's probably never going to be the case. But what we're talking about is progress over perfection and actually starting to plug away at the things you need to do while being able to prioritize what's actually important versus what is just perceived important. Because so often, right, we feel that constant level of stress in this 50 million things are on my mind at any given time. And so you're trying to kind of keep track of all of them, opposed to actually prioritizing them, which can help you feel a lot less stressed about the whole process. And so what I wanted to share with you this week is something that we've talked about before here, but I really wanted to remind you of, because if you're struggling to manage all the moving pieces in your career, whatever that might look like, you probably need help prioritizing. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with you today was the Eisenhower model. And the Eisenhower model is a really great way to help you figure out, of all the things going on your plate, what are true priorities versus perceived priorities. So it looks like this, and it's when you put, this is this urgent versus important matrix that you've probably seen before. And what it looks like, or the way that it works, is you say, okay, if something is both urgent and important, do that now, right? So that's my first priority, both urgent and important. If it is urgent but not important, this is where you delegate. So this is where, if you're at a company, you can try and get someone else to do it. If it is something that needs to be done but you don't have the bandwidth to do this, if you are an entrepreneur, you can outsource it. I use stuff like Upwork to get a lot of things done that, oh, I really need to get this, PDF updated, but I don't have the mental capacity or the time capacity to do it. Outsource it. This can be things like doing your grocery shopping and using Instant Cart. This can be things like hiring someone to walk your dog, right? But if it's not, if it is urgent but it's not important, this is when you delegate it. If it is important but not urgent, this is when you do it later. So this is typically when you schedule something. Put a time block on your calendar and make sure to uphold that time block, because as I've asked around, it looks like a lot of you have challenges with actually upholding the stuff that you have scheduled and the time that you've earmarked for yourself to actually do those important tasks that you're catching up on. And if it's neither urgent nor important, you delete it altogether. Okay, and so using this matrix can be a really great way to start to actually make sure that you're spending the time within the work you're doing as time well spent, right? We don't want you constantly spinning your wheels and feeling like there's a million things moving on and it's complete chaos. What we really want you to do is see the chaos, appreciate it, realize that it's probably never going to be perfect, and then say, okay, well, let me think about what I can control. What are the things that I can prioritize in here? Is there anything that I can delegate? Is there anything that I can get off my plate? Is there anything I can delete altogether? Or maybe write it on a list of as a rainy day project. I keep a list of things like that are not necessarily urgent nor important, but are things that I want to do someday. I keep them on a list, and it gives me the peace of mind knowing they're there if I ever find the free time or create the free time to do them. But other than that, I don't really worry about it that much. So I wanted to share that tip with you that week. Use that matrix if you're struggling with a zillion different priorities and you're trying to juggle them all. start here. It's going to be so incredibly helpful. I want you to try that tip on for size. Keep me posted on how it's working for you. And if you need help with prioritizing or any of those things, you can certainly reach out to me directly. You can just send me a direct message. I'm happy to kind of chat with you about if this is a recurring problem with your career. Okay? So start there. I will be speaking tonight at University of Denver all about the topic of boundaries and actually creating and enforcing them. I will come back with lots of fun things to share with you soon. But begin with this work, because prioritizing is so incredibly important instead of feeling like you're constantly in a state of upheaval. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are as you go through this exercise. Feel free to share them below. And in the meantime, happy working!